What's going on, everyone? It's Mike back again for the Mike and Millsy show. But we've had a cheeky little. I don't know what you call it. What Millsy? What do we call John right now?
Oh, he's an absolute legend, is what I call him.
Hey, see, I tell you what, this is going to turn into the John and Millsy show. You're going, mate, you're going.
To be honest, more people will probably like that because I'm not Scouse. Anyway, right, there's some stuff going down at Goodison. Let's be honest, there's some stuff. John, you've just very kindly sent me some stuff out the Guardian, which Millsy's probably may not have seen, you know.
Just a little bit seen it, the Moshiri stuff.
It looks bad. I mean, it doesn't look at John's face. Look at John's face. John,
like a Cheshire cat.
Do you want to kick us off? John?
Well, not really, no, because I've only read the tweet part of it. I haven't read the Guardian part of it. But what I have got from that is basically some sort of sanction police are looking into things and what have you. And they're actually looking into probably what we've all known for quite a while, that Usmanov had a lot more to do with it. That's what I'm reading from it than what Moshiri had. And now Usmanov's gone, they've decided to look into it even deeper. And from what I'm getting from it, if he is found guilty, it could be another Roman Abramovich Chelsea saga, to be fair. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I mean, it would be fitting, wouldn't it, that, you know, Moshiri's pumped money into the club, we've gone backwards, and then he doesn't get any of his return back. Millsy, what? Obviously, you haven't seen too much about it, but you saw obviously what happened at Chelsea, and you know what Everton need in the summer. What's your thought?
It won't work out this way, but it might just be the kick that everything needs now for everything to really, really speed up. I'm reading there that one of the implications is that if he sells the club, where's he going to put that money? That they're looking at, does that money stay in your account? Does it even hit your account? So he's probably in two minds now as to what to do. I think that whole crew who own Everton Football Club, no matter who it is, I think they've got to have enough now. This has to be one of the final straws where their personal finances are now getting investigated. This goes beyond faces on banners calling you a clown. This is now a serious situation where these guys are going to have to get together and say, do we just get out of here? Do we almost give this away now?
Do you know what's worse? Is the fact we're all sitting there with a smile on our face. You know, but let's be honest, all of us would be devastated if we lost a fiver. And we're talking about 750 million quid just gone.
Can I just ask a question, Millsy? Do you know the way you've explained that then? Does this mean that this MSP can still buy a share or a stake of the club, or the implications of what could get found here? Does he have to relinquish everything to do with the club?
I think it'd have to be everything. I think I'm reading between. So just for anyone who's not seen this, just a little summary of what it is. It's the Treasury Sanctions Police are reviewing finances of Farhad Moshiri, not Everton Football Club. They're reviewing Farhad Moshiri's finances. He's been reported to be a person of interest to Alisher Usmanov, and then it goes on to say any lack of payment from a sale of the football club to Moshiri could raise questions about whether Everton is being treated in a similar manner to Chelsea when it was acquired from the sanctioned Roman Abramovich. It's not good for him, John. I don't think he can stick around. If his whole portfolio, not including Everton Football Club, is going to be investigated, and this is going to stick out like a sore thumb, I think he's going to give it away. Literally, I don't think he's going to want his money back. I think he'll want to get out of here alive.
The way that's coming across there, it's just not Everton Football Club that he's going to suffer with, is it? It's a lot of his other businesses as well.
Yeah, that's it. And we're going to be the one that stick out, because he's not got to this position, but by being a dodgy character all the way through. There's obviously a lot of legitimate business and a lot of success stories that he's got on his portfolio. Does he risk all this because he's trying to buy a football club with Russian money? I don't think so. I want to say give it away. I don't mean he's going to put it in a raffle. It's not Dream Team, but I think he's not going to care now.
He's not going to get his money back.
He's not going to get his money back. And the only thing that might hurt us there, John, is I don't think he's going to do the due diligence into who's buying this club now. I think he'll want to just get.
He hasn't got time to do it, has he? Really?
That'll be the danger now. That'll be the danger. Does another group now just come in and just say, we can get this for 10 pence on the pound here, and we don't do any due diligence into them?
Do you know what, though, Millsy? If that's the case, maybe some Arabs will come in, because what Arabs play for football clubs now, they're not going to have to pay anything nowhere near what Everton's worth. So do they come in, jump ahead of the queue over MSP now and give them 200 million for the club? Do you know?
Yeah. All this does for me, John, is just expedites the whole thing. I don't think come the start of next season, he's going to be the owner of Everton Football Club. I can't see it. This just speeds things up, because we've all known it's either a stake or is it a full sale. The board gets dismissed, new people come in, get their own people in. I think what's come out today, Ian, is just speeds the process up now, and it'll probably be done within the next month. He's got to get a move on and decide what he's going to do. Does he bring his lawyers in and try and fight it? But I don't think even his lawyers would be powerful enough to get him through this. Are we worth it to him? Is Everton Football Club to Farhad Moshiri worth all that? I don't think so.
No, because he's put a lot of money in, and look what's happened. The only thing he's promised, or he's stood by his promise that he'd give us. He made a lot of promises, but the only thing that's really come to fruition is the stadium, the new stadium. Promised that, he's delivered it, but apart from that, £600 million, what is it, in 7 years, and 2 relegation fights in 2 seasons. On the football side of it, he's massively let the fans down, the club down, really let himself down, because I don't think he knew it was going to be anything like this, but did deliver on the stadium. That's one thing to thank him for.
Yeah, the one risk would be, John, for me, is I don't know if you've seen the accounts and the breakdown of the account. It's very, very apparent that his money is so crucial, that he's got money, and whether it's his or his backers' money, if you pull that money away, it's almost like his money is almost like a guarantor to Everton Football Club, that he puts it in. If that's removed, then that has to be replaced almost instantly, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be a quick process.
Just want to say, I have been watching in the background, but I've just been doing the whole John and Millsy show, just so it's been great, guys. Well done, and that's your 2 minutes of talking now. So, it's my turn now. Right. No, I'm joking. Look, all jokes aside, this is an absolute car crash. Let's be honest. This is terrible. And from a business sense, it'll be interesting to hear what people like the Esk say, who's fantastic. Comes out with lots of things. The financial elements of the club. Sometimes he gets it wrong, but I'd argue in terms of finances, he gets a lot right. Mm-hmm. I think it's a real worry. That if this is the case and that he has to walk away from the club, and as Millsy, you've just said, he's financial guarantor for the stadium, what happens when that is removed? If there is no one there to put the money in, does work stop? Do the workers on that site drop tools? Because where's the money coming from?
I think they'll be in a very good position to be able to get some sort of controlling stake in it. I think if your company, Mike, has done that much work into something and you just down tools without payment, you'd probably negotiate some sort of deal. Now, what that deal is, whether it be with the current owner or whether it be with the new owners, I don't know. But I personally, I might have egg on me face in 6 months, but I personally don't think the stadium will be affected by this. I think there's enough in that ground now for someone to come in and save it. Now, the worst case scenario could be that it's sold and it's leased back, similar to what Villa Park is. I think Aston Villa have got a 100-year lease on Villa Park, but they don't technically own it. That could be a scenario which you walk into, and it wouldn't be a healthy scenario because you want that big asset. But I think as far as the stadium goes, I still see Everton Football Club moving into that stadium in 12, 18 months.
Let's talk about the bigger picture. Probably the smaller picture, actually, the immediate picture. Obviously, there's this issue around money. There's already the issue with financial fair play over us. There's this issue with, obviously, Everton not having a squad that's good enough to probably arguably stay in the Premier League, but we did. If he can't spend money this summer, how bad's that?
Do you want that one, John?
Well, as Millsy's just said before, Michael, I don't think he'll be here in the summer. I really, this is a fast process. This now,
I'm already there. We should be, in my opinion, we should already have bids on the table now.
Well, how do we know there's not? And if them bids do have to get withdrawn, we've still got enough time. The transfer window isn't official, but the transfer window isn't officially open yet. So we still have got time on our side. Going back to the stadium, I think you might be able to divulge on this more, one of you two. Wasn't there some sort of deal done with a lender last week? Apparently some firm in Ormskirk who was run by a Blue has brokered some sort of deal for the next lot of money to go into the ground.
AJ Bell, a company called AJ Bell, who's funded by an Evertonian. So that's a lending facility, that, John, yeah.
Yeah, so, if that's already in place and that money's already at the Everton Stadium Fund, the Everton Stadium Bank, then there's no reason why the build does stop. As Ian's just said there, Michael, I think that the build's too far gone now. It'll probably cost them more to stop the build, because I don't know if there's fines due, if it doesn't be done by a certain date or what have you. So I do think it's too far gone now to pull the plug on it. The money will come from somewhere, and if that AJ Bell is part of it and the money's already at the Stadium Fund bank account, then obviously, the stadium just carry on getting built, doesn't it? I don't think that affects it. What worries me is what Michael's just said there about the transfer side of it. But listen, there's got to be something in place. I don't think Mr. Moshiri's found this out today. Let's just be honest about it. I think he's known this is bubbling in the background for quite a while now. I think he's known something like this could happen, and he's probably got things in place just in case the proverbial hits the fan, and it looks like it has today. So there will be things in place. I think it's more of a good thing than a bad thing, because I think now where he stays on at the club, and obviously Ken Wright goes, Denise goes, Graham Sharp goes, the board gets broke up, but he stays if only a stake comes in, or a share, someone buys so many shares off him. I think now this is better for Everton Football Club, and I'm probably speaking for us three and every Everton fan. We all would have preferred a full takeover with the whole lot of them gone, and I think looking at what's happened today and what's come out, I think that's what's going to happen.
Okay. So, me and you did quite an in-depth review of the season, John, and that that feed got lots and lots of really positive comments. So thank you, everyone.
I've seen it, boys. I've seen it. It was really good. I watched a little bit last night. It was really, really good. Enjoyed it.
Cheers, mate.
But did you watch all of it, Millsy? I mean,
didn't watch all of it. Watch some of it live. I haven't got back to the rest. Mate, I had things to do. I had a hot tag in yesterday. My missus had both kids on Sunday on the basis that I weren't going to do nothing Monday, but because I was a bit of a nuisance Sunday night, shall we say, coming in, I had to take them all out. So
I'm joking. I was on the wind up, to be honest, because Millsy actually put a comment.
At least you made the effort to go the game.
I see what you've done there. Well done. Well done. Yeah, that's it. Okay, well done. I've got no comeback for that, John. I haven't. It was the wife's birthday, but I will always choose family over football, always.
Hey, can I just ask a little side question there? And this is not a piss take at all. How did it feel to not be there and watch it that way? Because for me, being there, I couldn't have been anywhere else. I felt like I was sort of involved in it, and I could, even though I couldn't, I felt like I could affect it. What was it like to watch it on the telly or the stream or whatever?
Yeah, look, it definitely wasn't the same. It wasn't the same. But the one thing I will say, the emotion, it was scary. It was scary how, because you didn't feel connected. You didn't feel like you was part of the furniture. I've been to 17 home games this season and 3 or 4 away this season, which is more games than John. And
yeah, because of where you live, it's easier for you to get down south, isn't it?
You know what? I'm not. It's actually cheaper for me to go away from home than it is to Goodison. That's how ridiculous it is.
Because you're a wool.
Brilliant. Yeah, carry on, John. I'm going to cut you out of this video. It was horrible, Millsy, because you couldn't connect with the players. You couldn't shout at them. You know, you couldn't cheer them on. You couldn't do anything. I just sat there watching the game, just feeling really emotional. And then when Decore scored, you know, the phone's gone, the telly's gone, I've gone. You know, I mean, there's tears everywhere. But I would have preferred to have those tears with the person standing next to me. You know, my dad went. He took my ticket. He had my ticket, and I rang him up after the game because John's phone had died. A stupid idiot. And Dad said that it was the worst game of football he'd ever been to from an emotional state. He couldn't cope. But my dad isn't emotional anyway. He's like a brick. But he almost killed him. And the fact that I wasn't there has almost killed me. The one thing I will say, though, and that I do share, is the massive sigh of relief, because I know that the three of us, plus thousands, millions of other Evertonians, wasn't sleeping the night before, wasn't sleeping the week before. Me and John were texting each other because as everyone knows, John's a taxi driver. I know that he works nights. So I was waiting for him to wake up so I could text him. 3 o'clock in the morning, we were speaking to each other. Horrendous. So yeah, mate, it was rubbish, if I'm being honest. That's the short answer. It was absolutely shite.
It was just interesting I wanted to know, because when I was there, talking about you, John, it was like nothing else matters like that. And I mean that in the most positive way, because I know me and you've got young children and real life and stuff, but I turned my phone off and nothing else mattered for them 2 or 3 hours. My whole life was Everton Football Club, and it felt like everyone on the ground was like that.
In a way, I'm glad my phone died. I'm glad I left the house with it on 27%, and I was managing to keep up to date with scores from the other games. But apart from looking at the scores, as you quite rightly say, Millsy, nothing else mattered, and I just seemed to shut myself off from everything else apart from them 4 stands in Goodison Park. It was just nothing else. You did. Well, like when you'll go the game and there'll be a bit of a lull in the game, and you'll start thinking about other things like, you know, work, or someone of your family, or what have you, or conversations you've had with your mates. For 90 minutes, 100 minutes, or whatever it was just that. It was just that. It was as if the rest of your brain had just gone, and there was just this little bit left, and it was just that game. Nothing else was there. It was just weird. It was weird, as you say. It was just everything else just went, you know.
Do you know what I found really bad as well? Is because obviously there was a bit of a delay with the fans in the stadium finding out that Leicester had scored, for example. I saw it. I had both games on at the same time. Leeds were 1-0 down at that point, so I stopped bothering with the Leeds game. I didn't think they'd score 4 goals or whatever they needed to do. But Leicester, I watched both games, and Leicester played really well in that first half. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God, like this genuinely could happen. Like, you know, we went in at half time, and, you know, don't get me wrong, we'd had a few moments, and there was definitely a penalty or 2, in my opinion. There was certainly 1, in my opinion. But I saw the replays of it. I saw the commentators talking about it. I saw what was going on in the Leicester game. I saw what they were talking about in that game, and it was a different perspective not being there. It was a different perspective, and honestly, being someone that suffers a little bit mentally, as you know, you both know, you've both been there for me when I've been dark days. John, especially, you've been there when I was in my darkest days. I still to this day, and I know people might slag me off for this and might not call me a true blue or whatever, but I still don't know if I could have coped being at Goodison Park that day anyway. I just don't know if I could have coped.
Well, the Leicester score came through, and I sit by a lot of lads who started the day at 4:20 in the ground by saying, it's on us, don't care about Leicester, don't care about Leicester. You should have seen that attitude change when Leicester went 1-0. It affected everyone, and then Leicester I think Leicester went 2-0 when we were 1-0, and that even had an effect. Even though it didn't change much, even that has an effect. You could just feel it. John, I know you sit in the paddock, I'll show it by you. I could feel and just see genuine fear around that ground at times.
You could feel it as well, you know, and as you say, whether it was 1-0 or 2-0 to Leicester, if Bournemouth scored a goal, and that's all it would have taken to, God forbid, put Everton down, condemn Everton to the Championship. So 1-0, 2-0 didn't really matter. It was just all about Everton stopping them scoring, and if they did, Everton scored another one, and Everton didn't really look like they were capable of scoring more than 1 or 2 goals in that game, so it still could have went anyway, and I expected Leicester to probably do the job. I think if we were between the three of us, I think if we were unsure about which team might struggle, it was probably going to be Leeds. But it was, I said to Michael the other day, Millsy, the atmosphere that, see, like yourself, we've been through that 3 times now, and final day nerves, and it gets worse and worse each time. And I've never experienced anything like that. I watched a little bit of the replay before, and Gary Neville says the gantry shook like he's never felt a gantry shake before. Things like that give me goosebumps because it just shows how passionate Everton are, what it meant to us as fans, what it meant to us as a club, and I hope we never have to go through that again. But it's a day I'll never forget for the atmosphere. I said the other night at the end of the video we done, Everton fans were a credit to themselves the other day, and the same last season, when the way we pulled the team through, this season was even better than last season. I think they all come together since Dyche has come in, and we're a credit to each other.
I think it was important for me, John, as well, at the end of the game, because we had that relief and you'd have that celebration, and some people went onto the pitch, and look, I don't agree with it, but I understand the emotion of so everyone's different, aren't they? It affects everyone different. Those people on the pitch could have had a month of sleepless nights, and it's just that release. So I get it to an extent, but I think after 10 minutes, there was a collective stop celebrating and let's focus on the real problem. And the sack the ball came and.
To be honest with you, I said this to Michael, there was no way I was going on the pitch this time, because I think a lot of Everton fans, the vast majority of the Everton fans stayed in their seats, or they stood up at their seat or what have you. And I think and this is not a pop of the Everton fans who went on the pitch, because obviously everyone's got their own reasons. I was one of the first on the pitch last season when we beat Palace. So, I was celebrating staying up from relegation then. But I think now, because it's happened again, I'm looking at it now and I'm thinking, I shouldn't be celebrating avoiding relegation. So I did. And I'd be honest with you, as soon as that final whistle went, I said to the people who have sat with for years, see you next season, have a good summer. I didn't stay because I felt the relief of the final whistle going, and I was done. I just wanted to get out of there. The weight on my shoulders and all Everton fans had been lifted. I'd had enough. As soon as that whistle went, I said, see yous, and I was gone. I was just made up it was over, and the relief that I felt when I got outside the ground, knowing that our last season at Goodison is going to be in the Premier League.
Can we just talk about, obviously, I agree with both of you about the fans that ran on the pitch, whether it was an emotional thing, whether it was just running on the pitch because they didn't do it last season, whatever reason it was, I'm not really fussed. But it's highly likely there will be ramifications from it, because obviously the same thing happened last season. We know that Everton strengthened up security. It was a £300,000 fine last year. There was some rumours. I was reading some articles that there's even a possible behind closed doors game as a punishment for what happened. What do you think will happen as a result of punishment? Because we will get punished for it. So what do you think will happen?
I can't see that. There's no way I can see that. If last year Patrick Vieira is having physical battles with fans and nothing happened to us, then I get the continual breach of security and it puts players in danger. I get that aspect of it. But at the same time, Everton Football Club went so far over the top security numbers, who obviously weren't qualified to deal with it. I was there at 12 o'clock, boys, on Sunday, and I was watching crowd management security minibuses coming into the park end. It was lads who were 18, 19, accompanied by women who were in the 50s or 60s. They just got anybody in. And if they really, really wanted to make a stance and not let that happen, they should have just put Merseyside police on row A of every stand and just said, you aren't getting on. and dealt with it. So I think there's a lot on the club here. I think it's easy to target the fans now. I didn't run on the pitch, and I didn't agree with running on the pitch, but I also take a step back and just think, not everybody's me. Because I've got an opinion doesn't make that right. The people on the pitch may have said, you haven't got a clue what I've been through with this football club. It just took me on and I didn't mean it. There's probably some of that out there as well. I don't think you can look at the fans and completely say that's a problem. I think Everton's issues on Sunday is they weren't they should have been prepared for it, but they weren't.
Yeah, I think if you look at the last game, they done like a dummy run, didn't they? If you remember quite rightly, we seeing that picture of the stewards around the tunnel. You know, they were expecting it. So as you quite rightly say, if they were expecting it, and this is no disrespect to 18-year-olds or 50-year-old women, but if they were expecting it, pay the extra money to police it more instead of putting Everton in this situation of where we could get another fine or play a game behind closed doors, because you've already practiced for it. So you had a feeling it was going to happen whether we win, lost or drew. So don't be bringing 17-year-old kids in who are still wet behind the ears and 50-year-old women. Bring proper security in, and that's no disrespect to them people, because it's probably the only day they've ever done security in their lives. You know, do it properly if you're expecting it. Don't do what you've done and then try and tarnish Everton with this bad brush because people ran on the pitch. People run on the pitch 9 out of 10 games every week for whatever reason. Whatever reason it happens. So, you know, there can't be another fine. If there is another fine, so be it. You know,
who pays it?
We have.
Who pays it?
Well, it's
He's got who pays it.
Yeah, but you know, you should have been more prepared, as you said.
You can't do it behind closed doors. There's no way. And you know what? Just to end on my little thing there with the club doing better, why not on Friday evening do all our podcasts not get a message from the club saying, boys, we don't like this, but just put it out there that there'll be season ticket confiscations or there'll be arrests. Anyone who enters the field of play, we don't like it as much as you do, but can you guys get the message over? It weren't even communicated well. I know this do not enter the pitches like
I'm not being funny. I'm not being funny though, Millsy. When have the club communicated well with the fans? So they're not going to communicate with us over there. The communication between the fans, from the club to the fans, is horrendous. You know, is David Prentice or whatever his name is still working there? He's getting paid big bucks. Another job for the boys. He's never spoke a word to the fans since he's been there. What is it? His granddaughter sticks up for him all over Twitter, Melanie. No, you come out and communicate with the fans. That's what you're getting paid good money for from your mates who give you the job. Communication's shocking. So they were never going to communicate with us over that.
So another example, isn't it? Another example.
Yeah. Yeah, the club don't speak to me anyway. I actually
I've
given up trying to speak to the club, so fuck them. This is the Blue Boys Network from the fans for the fans. That's what we say there. Right, let's talk about a few players. Obviously, me and you, John, we've discussed this, but Millsy, there is players that are going to be linked to on a daily basis at this point. There's some free transfers. What do you want to see happen with the squad? What do you want to see happen in terms of transfers in, transfers out? What you're looking for?
I think if you're very real about it, and us three are, I think you're going to have to sell someone in order to do what we need to do. I don't think anything can happen until after June 30th anyway, because this year's accounts can't be tampered with. Last year's accounts have fucked us, so this year's can't do the same. So I don't think anything happens till June 30th onwards. I would sacrifice. I really would. I'd sacrifice Amadou Onana. I would thank him, and I'd say, look, it is just not the right fit. You need to go and play for a team who will give you half the minutes, but some of them are in Europe, and the tactics are a little bit more suited to you. And I'd use that 50, 60, 70 million to bring in his replacements and bring in some goals. And I think with that money, you'd probably be able to, if you're smart with it, you'd probably be able to go and get 2 or 3 players. And I'd take the Coventry striker. I can't even say his name. Guy Corres or...
Likeness.
There we go. I'd take him. And I would also go and get Ward-Prowse from Southampton. I think those two straight away. I think you get a box-to-box, energetic midfielder, a striker who's hungry, who will play 38 games a season, and then you can maybe beef the squad up with a couple of loans. But I think for me, boys, you've got to sacrifice Amadou Onana to maybe take one step back to get 2 steps forwards.
He's probably the most saleable asset, apart from probably Jordan Pickford, and he's come out and says he wants to stay. You know, did he sign the contract in case we went down to help the club out? Now we've stayed up. He has come out and said he wants to stay at the club. You know, before all the injuries, Dominic Calvert-Lewin was probably one of our other saleable assets. You're not going to get much for him now. So it is Amadou Onana, and people know on the channel that I've been quite opinionated, well, very opinionated on Amadou Onana. I'd gladly let him go. To be fair, if we could get 50 million for him, I'd gladly let him go.
John doesn't rate him at all. He said he's
I see it. That there's important games this season. I've turned to my mate and gone, is Onana even playing? And he's gone, yeah, there he is. He's gone missing for that long. But what I have seen is the flashes that you get, the glimpses that you get. You can see there's something there. I just think it's the wrong fit. I think this
is it enough.
I think this club in this moment and what it needs, and him in his moment and what he needs, is not a fit.
Yeah, that's actually my opinion. John doesn't think he's got any quality whatsoever. I think he's going to end up playing for, don't know,
Marine.
Luton. Any Luton fans that watch this, we're coming for you at Kenilworth. Road. You watch this space.
We're lucky to get a ticket. We let about 500 people in, don't we? Jesus.
Well, you can hop over the back garden and watch it for some bloke's living room.
You do that at Marine as well. We'll be able to shout at Onana. Hey! Stand there at Marine with our shit on. Have a do!
Oh, dear. So I'm going to leave this bit open then, boys. Is there anything either of you individually want to mention or talk about just to finish off our 30-minute dissection of how awful the current situation is at Everton? I'll start with me. No. And that's because for the last 2 days, I've just gone in on everything I've done. I did a full piece yesterday, 25 minutes, went through the news. You just get linked with different players. I mean, we've been linked with about 15 players already. It just does my head in. It just does my absolute fruit and barley in. And the night before, I did an hour-long special with John for the review of the season, and that was awful. Worst hour of my life so far, if I'm being honest. I can't stand spending time with him. I'm so glad I've got a summer away from him. Anyway, so John, have you got anything to chip in? Do you want to talk about?
I also want to say, if there is any way, shape or form that we can bring a player in, get your finger out, Everton, because it's the 31st of May and the season's been ended for 3 days and we've done nothing. As usual, it's the same. We always leave everything to the last minute.
Can I just say, literally, at the start of this podcast, I made exactly the same comment, and he went to me, Mike, shut up. The transfer window's not open yet. That's what he said. Literally what he said.
No. Oh, yeah, I did, yeah. Well, yeah. See, I'm not well, I told you.
Millsy, what about you, mate? Anything you want to add?
Go on, Millsy. Take the heat off me. Go on.
Do you know what? I think regardless of opinion on the Altogether Now campaign, they've released something today saying that they're going to go down to the Live Birds on Saturday, and there's a really, really good set of people there. Now they know, and we know that they're divisive, that they've divided opinion, but they've put themselves out there. But Hannah's tours, Hannah's an absolutely fantastic kid. I was speaking to her on Sunday. I was with them on Sunday in the Winslow before the game, and the emotion those guys are going through, and they get loads of shit off people, so they have to front that when they're at the game whilst trying to help. And she's put a social media post out saying, this time last year we gave up, we being the protesters, and letting, we're not going to do it this season. We're going to keep putting the pressure on. So again, whether you agree or disagree with what the Altogether Now campaign are doing, they're going to do it this summer. They're going to push. They're going to push. They're going to push. And I get
might have to now.
They might not have to, yeah. But you know what? I get the division, and I get why people don't like it. I do. My personal opinion is that 27 campaign, the name of that, and the walkout of the Arsenal game was bad. Like that divided people. They took a step back and come forward with a different agenda, a different campaign now. But look, I think, John, we spoke briefly there at the end of the game that the sack the board chance, and it wasn't every Evertonian, but it was an awful lot of Evertonians. I've never seen it like this. I've never seen the media, the Liverpool Echo, the following day on the front page saying change is needed. The local media, even the national media, really high-profile journalists are now saying things have got to change, and this campaign are going to really, really push it. So I really do not see this board and this owner here when the season starts, and I think I really think we're on the cusp of change, boys. I really do.
Yeah,
and I think. Come on.
I was just going to say, look, I obviously it's difficult for me to be at things like protest, but this channel stands absolutely with the campaign. Like, change is absolutely needed, and however divisive it is, and however people have opinions on how to deal with change or what change is needed, the facts are change is needed, and this board is inept, and we can sit here and do as many podcasts as we like as we can. The one thing I will say is 2.5 years ago, I changed the branding of this channel from Network Michael D to Blue Boys Network, and that was to incorporate John. So I can assure you that John will be at the Liver building on Saturday, shirtless, with his hat on and his scarf, cheering Spirit of the Blues. We need you out of the club. He will be there front and centre for everyone to see, representing Blue Boys Network. He'll actually have a tattoo on his chest saying, "We stand with Mike. Blue Boys Network are us."
Yeah. Now, on a serious note, what Ian's just said there about he doesn't see any of them being here at the beginning of the season, I think this is going to escalate into something really quick now after the news today. I really do. There's massive change is needed, and I do see massive changes happening, like massive.
Are you excited by it, boys? Like,
yeah,
I sound silly, but I'm kind of looking forward to just seeing what happens. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, it could be horrendous. I mean, they could hand over the club. I mean, there was like arguments that if Chelsea wasn't sold, they'd go into administration and liquidation and all that. Now, look, that's never going to happen with a Premier League club of any stature, but there is some real negative things that could happen from this, but also there's some massive positives. It's like 50-50 and which way do you want to go? And I'm a half glass full kind of guy, so I'm thoroughly looking forward to the shitstorm that's going to appear.
Well, as Millsy's just said before, practically at the beginning of the video, Michael, what we've got to be careful of is he just doesn't give it to anyone, because it could end up worse than the situation we're in now. It could be even worse. So hopefully that doesn't happen, but I am excited for change. Hopefully if the change is for the better, which it can't be any worse than the situation we're in at the minute, can it? I am excited now to probably finish this video so I can have a look and see what's happened while we've been on here for nearly 38 minutes, if anything else has gone on Twitter or, So, yeah, I'm excited by, hopefully, the change coming.
I don't think it can get much worse. And that, for me, is, I get the be careful what you wish for, but I think where we are now is it's too far into the mud. You've got board members who can't even attend games for safety reasons. Now, how true that is, I don't know, but what is true is they're not attending. They're not there. They're not even able to see Everton stay up in the final game of the season. That board is dead.
You won't see them in the ground again. You won't see Bill Kenwright in the ground again. You won't see Farhad, and you won't see Denise. You won't see Graham Sharp. Graham Sharp, I said this to you the other day.
There's no other option now. It's got to be changed. There's no other option.
Even Graham Sharp's birds as bridges with Everton fans now. Completely.
It's a shame, innit? It's a shame. It's a real
legend.
There is one piece of one last piece of news that we probably need to highlight. John, if you do need to shoot off, just shoot off, mate. I know you've got.
You're trying to get rid of me.
No, never. Connor Cody, his loan deal technically expires today, and Everton need to confirm or deny whether they're going to go and sign him on a permanent deal. We don't know, well, unless any of us does know. But what do you think is going to happen?
Jose?
Look, I don't know what will happen. I think I would, for the price being quoted, which I think is £4.5 million, I think I would do it. I think to have an option to play an England centre half in a 3 at times next season for £4.5 million is a good option. £4.5 million doesn't mean he's the captain. He plays every game. That means Everton have got an option to play 3 at the back at certain times with an English international centre half. I'd take it for £4.5 million. I really would.
For $4.5 million, it's a no-brainer because he's better than Mason Holgate and he's better than Michael Keane. You know, all
I'm sorry,
days.
John, for $4.5 million, to be honest. Happily.
You wouldn't get me right leg for that.
John would get the whole fat turkey, wouldn't we? Guys, it's been a pleasure as always. Make sure you subscribe to Across the Park podcast for some sensational content. Obviously, Millsy touched on something this week, and a lot of content creators over the last 4, 5, 6 weeks have taken an absolute barrage of abuse for different things. And I think people have just think that they can take their frustrations out on people and channels and, large Twitter followings or videos that are made, content creators in general. It's not okay. It's not acceptable. This channel has always stood up for every single content creator in our space that will essentially, we give our opinions. Whether you disagree or agree, it's up to you. But some of the abuse that I've seen aimed at some of the lads on other platforms of the channels have been completely bang out of order, irrespective of people's views, opinions, takes. It's not acceptable. So if any of my subscribers, Twitter followers, Facebook, Instagram, any of you guys have instigated that or been part of that, then you are not welcome to watch this channel. So that's my take. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button for this channel if you're not a massive crazy person. And John's got a new Twitter. I can't remember it because he's got so many numbers and stuff at the back of it. It's just, honestly, it's an absolute troll account. It's horrendous. He's a crank at this point. Is our John crank World Cup winner?
I've had 8 Twitter accounts because they keep getting suspended. 8. Should be a record, that.
You need to stop being so.
I have calmed down.
You need to stop being one of them accounts where you dig out other, content creators.
Don't start talking that, you bullshit. You don't start talking shite like that. I'm telling you. I'd rather do videos every night on a live once a week with Millsy than you.
Hey, you're more than welcome, John. You're more than welcome.
I'll tell you what, me and you, Millsy, I'll jump on Across the Park podcast. Michael would just leave him bobbing up and down in the Mersey on his own.
Be a blessing. Be an absolute blessing.
Green piece there, pulling them back in.
please come back. So yeah, that's everything from me. Millsy, you got anything to end with?
No, mate, pleasure as always to speak to you. We'll have to do some more content in the summer because I know the fans out there are going to probably want some content because as much as we've hated the weekends and we've hated getting to this point, we're going to start missing it soon, aren't we? So why not do some more content together, eh?
Yeah, I'm up for that. I enjoy it when Millsy's on more than when it's just me and Michael, so I'm definitely up for
that. Well done.
Cheers, folks.
Well done, guys. Rumour Mill will be back out tomorrow. There's not loads of rumours at the minute, so there's no point recording one today. Bye, guys. It's been a pleasure as always. See you soon. Up the Toffees. Peace.